Burden, survivor guilt. Deeper into the architecture, we find a room cloaked in suffocating fog, the survivor's burden. This is a profound and agonizing haunting. It is the guilt of thriving while others perish, of finding shelter while others are caught in the storm. It asks a relentless, looping question in the dead of night. Why me? To understand this guilt, we must look at the human mind's absolute terror of chaos. We are biologically wired to seek patterns, to believe in a just world where cause and effect are neatly tied together. But when tragedy strikes randomly, leaving you entirely untouched, the illusion shatters. The universe is revealed to be beautifully, terrifyingly chaotic. The ego cannot handle this lack of control. And so, the mind does something extraordinary. It takes the blame. It invents a narrative of guilt. The mind would rather feel guilty and believe it is in control than feel innocent and accept absolute powerlessness. But grace is not a zero-sum game. Your survival did not cause their destruction. Dimming your own light does not bring anyone back. The only way out of this foggy room is radical gratitude for the improbable miracle of your survival. The toxic shadow. Toxic shame. We now descend into the basement. The air here is thin, the light non-existent. This is the realm of the toxic shadow. The moral mirror tells you, I did something bad. The toxic shadow looks at you and whispers, I am bad. This is not guilt for an action. This is guilt for your very existence. This room is almost never built by your own hands. It is the internalized voice of a world or a caregiver that did not know how to love you properly. When a child is met with constant harshness, they cannot comprehend that the adult is flawed. To a child, the adult is a god. Therefore, the child assumes they are inherently broken. We carry this flawed equation into adulthood as the judge that never sleeps. It tells you that any success is a mistake waiting to be discovered. It is a structural failure of the ego that requires darkness to survive. Because it is an identity-level condemnation, you cannot achieve your way out of it. To escape this basement, you must separate the I from the flaw. You must realize the voice condemning you is merely an echo of a ghost from your past. Bring the shadow into the light, and it vanishes. 455. 4. The dead of time, procrastination guilt. Ascending to a room lined with melting clocks, we confront the dead of time. This is the low-grade, constant electric hum of anxiety that accompanies the things you have not yet done. It is the heavy burden of procrastination. We often mistake procrastination for laziness, but laziness is peaceful. Procrastination is agonizing. It is a psychological war waged between your present self and your ideal future self. We delay action not because we do not care, but because we care too much. We are terrified that our actual output will not match the pristine vision in our heads, so we delay. But the physics of time are unforgiving. Every hour you spend distracting yourself is an hour you are borrowing from your future self, and the universe charges an exorbitant interest rate. The guilt stems from the deep, subconscious knowledge that you are actively assassinating the person you were meant to become. To break free from the debt of time, you must abandon the religion of perfectionism. You must give yourself permission to do the work poorly. The universe rewards motion, not flawless intentions. Action is the only known antidote to the suffocating guilt of inaction. 610-5. 110-1. The moral mirror, productive guilt. We begin our descent in the clearest, yet sharpest room of the cathedral, the moral mirror. This is the guilt of the action. It is the immediate, visceral tightening in your chest when you have spoken a lie, broken a vow, or inflicted unnecessary pain upon another. Think of the biological purpose of physical pain. If you touch a burning stove, your nervous system fires an agonizing signal to force you to pull your hand away. Without that pain, your flesh would burn. The moral mirror operates on the exact same principle, but for your character. It is the spiritual reflex that pulls you back from malevolence. The ancient Stoics viewed this internal sting as the call to virtue. It is the incontrovertible proof that your internal compass still functions, that the needle still desperately wants to point true north. You must not numb this heat. It is telling you that you have drifted from your own nature. It proves you still possess a soul that cares about its alignment with the good. The cure for this guilt is never denial. It is restitution. You walk out of this room by allowing the sting to forge you into someone who will never make that choice again. 6-10-5. The price of growth, loyalty guilt. We find ourselves next in a room divided by a harsh, heavy threshold. The price of growth. This is the guilt of outgrowing your origins. It strikes when you move away from your hometown, shift your beliefs, or achieve a level of success that your peers never could. In our ancestral past, to be separated from the tribe was a death sentence. When you begin to evolve or step into a larger arena, a primitive part of your brain sounds an alarm. It tells you that by succeeding, you are abandoning your people. You feel like a traitor. You look at the struggles of those you left behind, and a quiet voice asks, "Who do you think you are to have it this good?" This guilt will tempt you to shrink yourself, to dim your brilliance so others do not feel uncomfortable. You must resist this urge. A tree that refuses to grow taller than the canopy around it will eventually wither and die in the shade. Your growth is not an insult to your past. It is the natural progression of life. You cannot save a drowning person if you refuse to get in the boat. You do not betray your origins by outgrowing them. You honor them by running further than they ever dreamed possible. 7-25. 6. The ghost choice, decisional regret. In the quietest, most haunting room of all, we find the hourglass of the ghost choice. This is decisional regret, the guilt of the path not taken. As we age, our lives transform from a wide-open landscape of infinite potential into a single, narrow reality. We look back at the crossroads, the lover we didn't marry, the career we didn't pursue, and we are consumed. What if? Our imagination allows us to build perfect, frictionless, alternate realities in our minds. When our current life becomes difficult, we immediately compare it to the ghost life. In the ghost life, everything is flawless. We feel profound guilt for making the wrong choice and ruining our lives. But this guilt is based on a delusion. The other you is a fiction. The alternate path would not have been perfect. It would simply have presented a different set of tragedies and burdens. Every choice we make is an act of sacrifice. To choose to be one thing means you must willingly give up being a million other things. You must mourn the paths you didn't take, lay them to rest, and bring your full attention back to reality. Peace is found when you stop competing with a ghost. 8-47. Compassion. Fatigue. The caretaker's trap. We now enter a room that appears as a dry, cracked stone well. Compassion fatigue. This is the guilt of the exhausted empath. It is the sinking feeling you get when a friend calls with a crisis, or when you read a tragic news story, and you realize you feel absolutely nothing. You have run out of care. For thousands of years, the human brain was designed to empathize with a local tribe of about 100 people. Today, you are exposed to the suffering of 8 billion people, 24 hours a day. Furthermore, in your personal life, you may be the strong friend who constantly pours their emotional water into the cups of others. Eventually, the well runs dry. When you finally feel numb to a tragedy, the guilt crashes over you. You feel monstrous. But you are not a monster. You are a biological organism with finite resources. Empathy is a battery that must be recharged. The guilt you feel here is a misinterpretation of a warning light on your dashboard. It is telling you that your system requires isolation and silence. Letting go of this guilt requires the radical acceptance that protecting your own peace is the prerequisite for being useful to the world. Finally, we reach the highest tower of the cathedral, open to the cold, vast night sky. This is existential guilt. This is not about a specific action or choice. It is the crushing, overarching sense that you are squandering the sheer miracle of your existence. It is the guilt of looking at the stars and feeling that you are playing too small a game. This guilt arises from the incomprehensible mathematics of your birth. The universe spent 14 billion years expanding just so the atoms in your body could briefly assemble into a conscious being. When you become aware of this magnitude, the mundane realities of daily life can feel like a cosmic insult. You feel guilty that you are not writing symphonies or living in a state of constant enlightenment. The philosopher Heidegger believed this was the guilt of being finite. But the universe does not demand that you be a god. The pressure to live a magnificent life is an invention of the ego. The true cure for existential guilt is to find the profound within the mundane. The miracle is not that you are changing the world. The miracle is that you are here to experience it. You have nothing to prove to the stars. 11:10